Welcome to my Q&A with Giselle, where every month I engage in a dynamic Q&A session answering your business immigration questions and offering you hopefully valuable insight to help you navigate the world of corporate immigration. The questions that I'm answering here are your questions. So if you want to be a part of the conversation, which I hope you are, please continue to email us. And if you also want to make sure that you get the updates when the Q&As are released, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, and there will be a link in this Q&A so that you can go there and subscribe. So with that in mind, here are the 3 questions that I'm going to be answering for you. Can you explain what a PERM Labor Certification is and its role in the green card process? Second question, I am considering an H-1B or an L-1A visa for an upcoming hire who will be a manager. What are the differences between the H-1B and the L-1A? And when should I use each one of them? And the third is my attorney told me that I needed to create a public access file for my H-1B workers. Now, note, this is not one of our clients who sent this email. We prepare our public access files for our clients. It's the way I see it is the kind of another bureaucratic requirement of the H-1B visa. And we have pretty much all the documents that we need to go into the public access file. We obtain what we need from the clients, from our employers and the foreign nationals, and we put it together for them and then send them an electronic copy. But in this particular case, the employer wants to know how to prepare a public access file and why is this important? So those are the questions that I'm going to be answering for you. So here's the first one again. Can you explain what a PERM Labor Certification is and its role in the green card process? And I'm actually going to make this into a little, make it more something that you can imagine, because this terms can be very confusing. In fact, when I started practicing immigration law, I couldn't understand the difference between a PERM Labor Certification and an H-1B LCA, labor condition application. Now, of course, now I know very clearly what the difference is, but again, know that there is also a labor certification or a labor condition application for the H-1B, which is very different than the PERM Labor Certification. So back to the PERM Labor Certification. So imagine that, again, I'm going to try to take it out of the immigration context and make it into something that you can potentially understand a little better. Imagine you are playing a game where your goal is to hire the best player for your team, but this player is from another city. So the one that you really want to hire, which you think is the best player for your team, is from another city. But the rules require you that you must check, you must recruit, you must offer that position to the people in your neighborhood first and see if there was anyone that is qualified. And if they're qualified, they want to join your team from your neighborhood. If no one is qualified, no one wants to join, then you can invite the player from another city. And that is a little bit like the PERM Labor Certification process. Basically, the government, the US government, wants you to make sure that before you offer a position to a foreign worker, and again, this is only in the green card or the immigration process. These rules do not apply for H-1B. That's something else that I want to make very clear. This is only PERM Labor Certification green card process. So for the green card process, our government wants you to test the labor market and make sure that there's no other players from your neighborhood that are qualified or that want to take this job. So there is recruitment that takes place as part of the PERM process. If there is no qualified US workers, there's no one, even if they're qualified, they don't want to take the job for whatever reason, then we can move forward with the PERM Labor Certification. That is the first step of the green card process for this player that you want to bring into this team. In order to get there, before we go and advertise the position to your neighbors and to your, the US worker, the process begin with establishing a very specific a job description that it's not exactly like you don't take just a job description for your shelf or your policy manual and put it out there, because it's a balance of what the job position is and also what the Department of Labor or the US government expect to see in those positions. And again, we work with our clients to develop the job description, which is not something that is going to be in effect right now. It's something that is going to be in effect in the future after you show that there is no US workers, and then you're bringing over your the player that you really want to bring to your team, who is a foreign worker. Okay, so that is kind of a big picture of what the PERM Labor Certification is. And again, the reason or the role that it plays is to make sure that we are protecting US workers if there is a qualified US worker that could do this job. Okay, now we're moving into question number 2, where you have a manager who you want to bring into the United States, and we're trying to decide whether we can use an H-1B or an L for this manager. So what is the difference between an H-1B and an L, and the pros and cons for each one of them? So the H-1B is the most used work visa at this time, and I think it's been since it was created. And the reason why is because of its versatility. It can be used for managers, but it can also be used, and it is widely used, for foreign professionals that have a bachelor's degree or higher in a specific field like IT, engineering, architecture, design, healthcare. So it has a wide variety of fields that it can be used, including a manager. So it's more versatile. H-1B provides greater access to global talent for employers. And it's not as limited as the L1, which I'm going to explain to you in a minute. And also the H1 is used widely to hire top international students that are in the United States. They're going to Harvard, they're going to MIT, they're going to top schools in the United States and more. They are graduating with a bachelor's, a master's, quite often a PhD, and they're being offered a position with the US employer. We use the H-1B a lot for those cases. There are several cons or things that make the H-1B not as appealing, that being that there is an annual cap, and the H-1B is so in demand that the annual cap has been met every year for years and years. So there is a lottery system. And I have a lot of information on my YouTube channel and on our website about the cap. So if you're interested in learning more about it, I did a whole webinar 3 webinars at the beginning of this year about the H-1B cap. So you can search for that in the YouTube channel. And so it's a very rigorous application process. It can be very bureaucratic, but we do a huge amount of work so that the employers don't have to worry so much. A benefit of the H-1B, if you hire a foreign worker that already has an H-1B visa, it makes it, then you don't have to worry about the annual cap, but that's a conversation for another day. The L1, the L1A is specific for managers and executives. However, it can only be used if the foreign national worked for a related company abroad for at least 1 year before that person is transferred to the United States. So its use is much more limited, typically restricted to international global companies that are in need to transfer managers and executives from their branches, subsidiaries abroad, related companies abroad into the United States. We do a fair amount of L1B managers and executives, but again, it's very restricted to global companies. If you have that, if you have the global company, if you have a person that is in a managerial or executive position abroad for at least a year, then they could be transferred to the United States, and their path to green card is much more efficient. They're exempt from the PERM process that I talked about in the first question. So it's again, if you meet certain criteria and you can do an L instead of an H, quite often I would select the L as the path to a green card if that's the ultimate goal. Okay, so that's my answer for the H and the L's. And then the last one, what about this public access file, PAF, P-A-F, public access files for H-1B worker? What is it? Why do I have to do one? Again, going back to the idea of a team, let's say now you're the coach of an international soccer team, okay? And it is a special team because some of your players are players from different countries. So it's a special team. Your pool of players is from various countries, but you also have US workers. And we want to make sure that the process is fair for the US workers as it is for your international players, okay? Or your US players and your international players. So again, there is a rule, and this is specific to H-1B visas. There is a rule that you have to keep, say, an audit file or a scrapbook with information about this international players, their position, what is being paid to these workers. So this scrapbook is called the public access file. And the public access file is created so that it can be made available to our government, to say other players that want to see the benefits, the salary, the job description that is being offered to the international players. So again, that is the analogy to the public access file of the H-1B. Basically, it contains a compilation of documents that explain the position that is being offered, or that is being filled actually by the foreign worker, and it's available. I typically tell the employers to keep it separate from the employee file, and it's available for inspection or review by others on demand. So the goal is to keep things transparent, ensuring that the local players, so the US workers, the local players, are not unfairly treated, but also that your international players are also not unfairly treated. So everybody is getting the same benefits, equal salaries, depending on the position, of course, on the experience. So that is what a public access file is. I hope this was helpful. I tried to make it somewhat simpler or more understandable. And again, if you find this content beneficial to you, please subscribe, pass it on to others, and let me know what questions you have. Until next time, this is Giselle Carson signing off. Bye-bye.